Learn to be quiet not because you have nothing to say, but because wisdom often speaks the loudest in silence. Ladies and gentlemen, we live in a noisy world. Everyone wants to talk. Everyone wants to prove something. But have you ever stopped to ask, what if silence is more powerful than words? Jim Rohn once said, "It's not what happens that determines your future, it's what you do about it." And one of the smartest things you can do is say nothing. Silence isn't weakness, it's not fear, it's not confusion. Silence is strength under control. In a world where people react instantly, the wise take a step back. They observe, they listen, they reflect, and then, when the time is right, they act. That's the difference. The man who cannot control his tongue will sabotage his own future, but the man who stays silent, he gathers power. You see, silence lets you learn. Silence protects your energy. Silence gives your actions more impact than 1,000 words ever could. People reveal their intentions when they speak too much, but the silent ones, they keep you guessing. That's power. Silence is often misunderstood. Many people think that if you're quiet, you're weak, passive, or unsure. But in reality, silence is a powerful form of strength. It takes far more control to hold your tongue than to let it loose. When you're silent, you're not avoiding the world. You're mastering yourself. It's easy to speak, to react, to argue. But it takes real discipline to remain calm, composed, and quiet when the situation tempts you to do otherwise. In silence, you show that you're not driven by emotions, ego, or the need for validation. You show that you're in control of your inner world. Jim Rohn often spoke about self-discipline being the foundation of success. Staying silent in a chaotic world is one of the highest forms of discipline. It's not that you don't have something to say, it's that you choose when to speak and when to stay quiet. That's strength. That's power. People who are always talking often reveal too much. They expose their thoughts, their plans, their fears. But those who remain silent keep their advantage. They don't show their hand too early. They don't waste their energy proving themselves. They let others talk while they plan. They listen, observe, and prepare. When you're silent, you're not giving your power away. You're keeping it. You're letting the world guess. And in that stillness, you build clarity, control, and confidence. Silence gives you time to think, time to choose the right words, or even better, no words at all. That's when you know you've grown, because anyone can talk, but only the strong can stay silent when it matters most. In silence, you find the edge that separates the wise from the impulsive, and the powerful from the reckless. When you choose to stay silent, you give yourself the greatest gift, the ability to listen. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, very few stop to truly understand. Silence creates space to observe what others miss. You begin to notice details, patterns, and intentions that are hidden beneath the noise. While others are rushing to speak and prove themselves, you're gathering information, reading between the lines, and gaining an edge that only awareness can bring. Silence is the gateway to wisdom because it keeps you open to learning. People often speak just to fill the void or to avoid discomfort. But when you're silent, you're not avoiding, you're absorbing. You're learning not only from what is said, but also from what is left unsaid. The tone, the timing, the energy in the room, these things speak volumes. And when you're not so focused on being heard, you begin to hear everything else more clearly. Staying silent doesn't mean you're disconnected. In fact, it means you're more connected. You're tuned in. You're fully present. And because you're not reacting or interrupting, people reveal more to you than they realize. They show their character, their values, and even their weaknesses. All because you chose to listen instead of speak. The smartest people in any room are usually the ones who say the least. They don't need to dominate the conversation. They are too busy learning from it. Every moment of silence becomes a moment of growth, a step toward mastery. Because when you listen more, you understand more. And when you understand more, you make better choices. The world may reward loud voices temporarily, but it always rewards wise listeners in the long run. Silence, when used intentionally, becomes your most powerful learning tool. In moments of tension or conflict, most people feel the urge to respond instantly. It's a natural impulse to defend, to argue, to prove a point. But reacting without thinking can lead to regret. Silence, on the other hand, creates the space between stimulus and response. It gives you a chance to pause, to reflect, and to choose your next move with clarity. When you resist the urge to react immediately, you protect yourself from saying something you might later wish you hadn't. This is where silence becomes a sign of true intelligence. The ability to hold back a reaction is a rare strength. It means you are not being controlled by emotions or provoked by outside noise. Instead, you are choosing to rise above it. In that quiet space, you have the opportunity to think strategically. You gain time to ask yourself, is this worth responding to? What outcome do I actually want? How can I handle this in a way that serves my future, not just my ego? Most arguments escalate because both sides are reacting, not thinking. But one person's silence can often diffuse the entire situation. Silence doesn't mean defeat, it means self-mastery. When you're silent, you're not surrendering. You're simply refusing to let others control your mind. And in that pause, you shift the power back to yourself. Thinking before reacting leads to better conversations, better relationships, and better decisions. You speak only when your words will build something, not break it. You act only when your action is rooted in purpose, not pride. By choosing silence over reaction, you develop the patience and foresight that separate the average from the exceptional. In a fast world, the one who pauses becomes the one who leads. There is a quiet authority in the person who doesn't feel the need to speak all the time. When someone speaks less, their words naturally carry more weight. People start to pay closer attention, not because of volume, but because of intention. A quiet person commands respect not by dominating a room, but by controlling their presence. When you choose silence over constant chatter, you train others to value what you say, because it becomes rare, thoughtful, and intentional. You don't waste words, and that makes the words you do use more powerful. In every conversation, there's a balance of energy. The one who listens more and speaks less often gains the upper hand, not out of manipulation, but out of awareness. People notice when someone is fully present, fully observant, and not racing to share their opinion. They sense strength in the restraint, and that quiet strength earns respect far more than empty confidence ever could. There's also mystery in silence. When you don't reveal everything, you make others curious. They wonder what you think, what you know, what you're planning. That uncertainty gives you control. It keeps others from assuming too much about you, and it allows you to protect your intentions, your direction, and your peace. Those who speak all the time often end up explaining, defending, or exposing more than they should. But those who are selective with their words maintain power and dignity. Respect is never demanded, it's earned. And one of the fastest ways to earn it is through quiet composure. When you don't feel the need to fill every silence, people see you as someone who is thoughtful, wise, and unshakable. In the end, the quiet ones are often the ones everyone looks to when it matters most. Energy is one of your most valuable resources, and silence helps you protect it. Every time you speak, explain, argue, or try to prove yourself, you're spending energy, and often that energy is wasted on people or situations that don't deserve it. Silence is a filter. It helps you conserve your mental and emotional strength for the things that truly matter. Not every comment needs a response. Not every insult deserves your attention. When you stay silent, you take back control over where your energy goes. People who are constantly talking often drain themselves without realizing it. They jump into every conversation, defend every action, and try to justify their decisions. In doing so, they scatter their focus and wear themselves out. But the person who chooses silence understands that peace is more valuable than being right. You don't have to prove anything to anyone when you know who you are. That confidence creates calm, and that calm protects your energy like a shield. You also avoid unnecessary stress when you stay silent. Arguments, misunderstandings, and emotional outbursts all pull you away from your goals. Silence creates a barrier. It gives you distance, time, and perspective. Instead of reacting to every small thing, you learn to pick your battles. You learn to let your presence speak louder than your voice. When you're silent, you're not disconnected. You're conserving power. You're focused on your mission. You're protecting your peace. And because you're not constantly drained by distractions, you have more energy for growth, for creativity, for progress. Silence isn't about holding back, it's about holding steady. It's a way of keeping your mind clear and your path strong. The more you value your energy, the more intentional you become with your words. And that's where real power begins. There's something incredibly powerful about letting your actions speak instead of your words. In a world where people constantly talk about what they're going to do, the person who quietly gets things done stands out. You don't need to announce every move, every goal, or every achievement. Real strength is shown in results, not in promises. When you stay silent and focus on the work, you build momentum. You let your progress do the talking, and when the results show up, they speak louder than any speech ever could. People often waste time trying to impress others with talk. They announce their plans hoping for praise or validation. But in doing so, they often invite unnecessary opinions, criticism, or even sabotage. Silence protects your vision. It keeps your intentions guarded until they're strong enough to stand on their own. And when the time is right, your success will speak for itself. Those who act quietly often move faster. They don't get caught up in explaining or defending. They just move forward. They build, they improve, they grow. And because they're not distracted by the need to be seen or heard, they go further. There's a deep confidence in someone who doesn't need to prove themselves. They know what they're doing, and they trust the process. Letting your actions speak isn't about hiding. It's about trusting that results matter more than attention. You don't need the spotlight. You just need progress. In the end, people remember what you've done, not what you said you do. So stay silent, stay focused, and let your results speak volumes. Because when you move in silence, you give yourself the freedom to grow without limits. And when success finally makes noise, it echoes with undeniable truth.